Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the showdown scheduled for today, Friday, in the courtroom of Judge Paula Zinnes in Maryland over the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This has really reached a pretty ridiculous stage. It's been over a month since the Supreme Court ordered the administration to facilitate the return from custody of Abrego Garcia. And the administration dragging its feet would be actually giving them too much credit. They've again and again tried to evade their obligations while continually saying that Abrego Garcia is not coming back ever. He would be deported immediately because he is a member of a criminal group. The proof for that seems to be possible tattoos on his hand, although what Trump displayed to the press was a photo that had clearly been photoshopped. I mean, they got nothing and never seem to have had anything from the time that it's now been 2 months, March 15th, that they just quickly took him away and sent him down to El Salvador. We know there was the one meeting with Senator Van Hollen and him. The senator and I actually did a separate YouTube on that you can see on this channel. But that has been the only word anyone has received about this man who has been, who is being held without having received due process, notwithstanding a direct command by the Supreme Court. So what has been going on during this long month? The general dynamic is that the judge, the district court judge, she is armed with the legal ruling and ammunition to say, bring him back and show us what you're doing to facilitate. She is also being very cautious because this will go up on appeal if they continue to refuse, and she wants to have a very clear record that she has been patient and given them every opportunity before holding them in contempt, which is what they are looking at. But man, they have been really beyond the pale. So they pushed back again, and she totally basically harangued them in court. At that point, they asked for a week, suggesting that some breakthrough might have been in the offing. Come the end of the week, they had nothing. They asked for another week. She said no. And then the most recent last week is after all of this back and forth, it's the same thing they did before Judge Boasberg. They say, okay, we invoke the state secret privilege, so we don't have to tell you what we are doing or have done to facilitate his return. Remember, that's the context here. We have found that a clear violation, but now they have a order to return or facilitate his return, and she is enforcing that and saying, what have you done exactly? Tell me. And they are being completely squirrely and shifting. So now they have invoked the state secret privilege, but they seem to think that, first of all, that's an extraordinary thing to do. You see it very rarely, and it has to, under law, be based on a finding by the highest official in charge, and that here would be Marco Rubio. So he has to personally find disclosure of the information would pose a reasonable danger to national security, such that the court should exclude the evidence entirely. Now, just putting it that way makes clear what's anomalous about what they're doing. This is a evidentiary privilege, the state secrets privilege. It's normally invoked so that they don't have to make information public. because if it's revealed in public, it could have a danger to national security. She's not asking for it to be reviewed in public. She's saying, give it to me. I'm a judge. Judges every day review national security information in camera, as it's called, privately, and they decide whether it's legit or not. They here have been trying to say, and they've tried to pull this trick in front of Boasberg too, we're not going to give it even to you. Why? Because if we did, the mere fact that we've given it over would pose a danger to national security, as allies in other countries would think, oh, the U.S. gives information to judges. Ridiculous. It happens all the time. And moreover, they have not even, as far as we know, identified what the dangers would be and the like. You don't simply stand up and say, oops, state secret privilege, goodbye. There are things you have to be able to show. The law is really clear here. The court, so if they want to invoke it, as with any privilege, the attorney-client privilege, you have to show, hey, this was privileged because it was for the purpose of getting advice from my attorney. That could involve affidavits or the like. And here, the same thing. You have to show the evidence and give some showing that there's an actual risk, not a speculative risk, an actual risk, and not just a general sense of harm to national security. And the courts don't and are not supposed to just rubber stamp the claim, because one thing you may try to do, this happens in trials all the time, is you disentangle, if you can, as a court, the nugget that they say is privileged from the non-privileged information. Now, the best we can tell, the best I can tell, this whole thing is really a charade by the government. They've been out there talking about Abrego Garcia, teasing, indicating maybe there have been communications. What is it that actually explaining what they've done and what they haven't to the judge would itself be a risk to national security? It is a level of obstruction that is way over what normally happens when you invoke state secrets privilege. And that's if they even should have been doing it and should be doing it here in the first place. So this is really coming into the sort of rubber hitting the road time, where if they don't give the real information of what they have done to facilitate his return, I think you'll find Judge Zinnes saying, this doesn't count. I'm about to hold you in contempt, give them a final chance, and then hold them in contempt. She's made clear that, she's not being fooled by their trying to get out of their obligations. And she just, I think, wants to be sure that when she lowers the boom, she's made a good enough record that the Fourth Circuit, remember, that's the court that even had J. Harvey Wilkinson, conservative judge, really back her on this, and the Supreme Court not say, yeah, it's a violation, but the district court judge was too precipitous or too severe. So that's, I think, her lookout here. They may conclude, they should, that they are right at high noon here. But all indications are they'll still try, A, to keep the information even from the judge, and B, to keep Abrego Garcia from ever being returned to American shores. And to just take a step back here, we're talking about, as all courts have concluded, and as any person has concluded, just this incredible nightmare of their making, where they send him down mistakenly. They admit it's mistaken, and he's rotting away in a jail. It's not CCOT, apparently. It's a different one in El Salvador. And, the barest requirements of decency would dictate doing anything you can to get him out. And it seems very clear that they can get him out. They also, recall, have been hiding behind the idea that, that's up to El Salvador, nothing we can do about that, which I think most people consider really a joke. So put up or shut up time for the United States. I think they're going to continue to shut up and take the hammer from a district court for contempt and bring it up on appeal. Meanwhile, Abrego Garcia continues to be held in another country, incommunicado. No one knows what's happening to him, and he was down there by mistake. It's more than he didn't get due process. They send him down there by mistake, and the sort of cavalierness and callousness of not bringing him back without making any showing to any court that he deserves to be there really is illustrative of the overall sort of viciousness and lawlessness of this the whole U.S. initiative here. So stay tuned for what should be a bruising hearing in Judge Zins's courtroom today, and a harsh follow-up if the United States doesn't finally come forward with information, which I don't anticipate it will. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.